Namaste and good afternoon. Welcome to this particular session, Masterclass. Uh, my name is Ranganath Sadasiva and I head the CTO function at HPE. And today I'm going to speak to you about a very interesting aspect that's really dominating the marketplace today. Um, I'll introduce that entire concept with a tool that HPE has, which is called the Ezmeral software platform. And let's dive deep into this and understand why is there a need for anybody to think about these new technologies and about the new software platform that we have. So it's going to be an interesting conversation. Let's get started. So in the context of what I'm going to speak, there are certain macro trends that one needs to really understand. And I'll try and bring this into focus so that you understand what these trends are. We all know about digital transformation and the kind of acceleration that's really it's gone through in the last 6 to 8 months. Some put a number to it saying that it's 2x, 3x, 4x, but I definitely know that it's happening in every given organization. What that has really meant in the context of what I'm going to speak to you is about the focus from the operational aspect of it towards the applications. Don't you do all of your activities today predominantly through an app base, right? They're close to about 300 on an average apps that you run on a mobile phone today, and that's for doing various other things. So any product, any solution, any services that you want is all an application today, and that's what we call as the front end of a digital transformation. The other important aspect is in terms of where do these applications and data run? I mean, is it stipulated to a given platform? Not really. I mean, they're essentially living everywhere. So you're seeing an ubiquitous sprawl of applications and data happening across the board. And when you're talking applications, somebody has to develop those applications, and there is technology behind it. The biggest transformatory change that I see is a migration towards containers, right? And that's where I'm going to focus a lot about when we move on, right? People have a lot of tools and technologies that have been prevalent, but today when you're talking of a world that is filled with apps, you're talking of a world that is cloud enabled, containers is the right kind of technology to really invest in, and that's where customers are moving towards that. The fourth aspect is all about data, and if I say data is exploding, you'll say I know about it, but the point is it's going to explode tremendously in the next few years, but how much of it can you capture as essence becomes important. That is where technologies like AI ML come into play. If you have that, you'll be in a position to really understand how this entire data can be harnessed, how you can get insights out of it and stuff like that. And the other aspect, which is very prevalent, is about cloud and cloud technologies. Today, everyone has a cloud technology, everyone has a cloud strategy, and it's not about clouds at all, but it's about using that as one of the elements of your overall strategy and having multiples of them. And when you're talking of that kind of a distributed world, managing all of this can be a critical issue. Where is my asset lying? Is it on-prem? Is it in the cloud? Or where is your application running here? Where does the data reside? All these complexities come into play. And when you talk about the pandemic, I think it's thrown us so much of issues, but at the end of the day, I think it's really been a transformatory area for all of us. And I'm seeing a lot of transformation emerge out of it. That in a nutshell, I think, are the compelling trends that we see for us to discuss what we are going to discuss now, and, interesting times ahead. So in all of this, I talked about containers. And when I talk about containers, it's been a journey for container as a technology again, right? It's taken about a decade to be really mainstream today, and everyone wants to adopt to containers today. And when we look at containers, one technology really stands out, and that's Kubernetes. Right? Kubernetes is from Google. It's now an open source element, and everyone can really do work with Kubernetes. But when you're moving into this container strategy, when you're wanting to adopt Kubernetes, what are the typical challenges that one faces? That's an important area for us to focus on. Why? Because you're getting into the container world, you're going to scale on that. So you need to understand what the typical challenges are. The first and foremost for very large enterprises is Kubernetes at scale, right? You have multiple clusters, greater than 1,000 clusters that are happening, because it's a dynamic world with a lot of applications. How do you handle that? The second aspect is all about what do you have today and where should you take those applications to? In all organizations, I see a lot of real estate on monolithic applications. So what we call as stateful applications. In fact, the numbers are something around 70% of all applications in organizations are in the stateful zone, and the remaining are typically cloud native. So there is an effort to modernize these applications. That's a big concern. How do I do that? When do I do that? Et cetera, et cetera. The other thing important is about data and gravity of data. Where you have an application, you have a data. So how do I ensure that I get a uniform, what should I say, a uniform fabric of data that's available to me, and where I can do my analytical workloads or really understand what to take out of the data points. Very, very crucial in today's world to understand that. And last but not the least, foundational to all of these kind of activities is how do you manage this in a hybrid cloud environment? What is hybrid cloud? Is essentially the deployment of your resources on-prem, on cloud, or anywhere that you would want, right? Typical 3 deployment modes, whether it's on-prem, cloud, or hybrid, which is essentially the state behind, between those two, in which you are ubiquitously moving data points from A to B or B to C, whichever way you would want to do. So these I see as typical challenges today for containers to be adopted in a large scale. And there is business needs to really go ahead and adopt that. Here is HPE's Ezmeral software platform. This is the software platform which HP has brought to the marketplace. It's close to about a year now. And this is the software platform that enables you to mitigate all the problems that I spoke of, right? Ezmeral stands for Emerald. It's a Spanish word. That's the branding that we have for the software platform. And that's able to deliver the kind of transitionary set of things that I spoke of, whether it is in terms of transition to high volume Kubernetes, or whether it is about how to handle the data, or whether it is how do you modernize your applications, how do you manage your hybrid cloud environments. That's what Ezmeral is willing as a technology to provide for all of us. So if you look at Ezmeral today, and what does it really deliver? To me, it delivers what I call as a data-driven transformation, right? It is completely enabled by data. It allows you to run, manage, control, and secure your data platforms, right? Irrespective of where you have your applications, irrespective of the type of applications you could have a bare metal based application, you could have a VM based application, you could have it run it on the edge, you could run it on the cloud, you could run it anywhere, but you can run that. One single platform to do that. Let's talk about management here, whether it is the data that you would want to manage. The data could reside anywhere today. It could reside in devices, it can reside in locations. You're able to ubiquitously manage this entire set of data points that are there. Control in your environment today. Where should I put where? Which data should reside where? Whether it should be on the cloud, whether it should be here, right? Or whether it is conforming to the statutory requirements of certain geos, governance part of it, compliance part of it. Can you have that kind of control there? Yes, with the Ezmeral platform, you can do that. Last but not the least is about the security aspect of the container platform itself. We all understand security is core today, especially in the wake of digital transformation. And if you have security running through across your organization, right from the periphery to the core, that's the absolute best way to do that. And within the Ezmeral data fabric, you're able to deliver a complete framework for securely handling enterprise kind of data points and also the container networks that you have there. If I kind of look into what are the components of the Ezmeral platform, you will firstly see that this is very crucial for an organization. It has to kind of deliver the applications needed for the transformation that we're looking for. So there is that Ezmeral container platform at the heart of all of this. And this is based on open source Kubernetes, and it is delivered to you with a package that enables you to do all kind of operational activities, management activities, security activities, and a set of everything that we spoke of earlier to run, manage, and enable your data fabric. Open source, why? And why is HP not really looking at those curated kind of Kubernetes platforms that are there? This is where the openness of the platform really comes into the foray. Today, you look at open source and the kind of platform and capabilities that they deliver, it's absolutely in line with what the enterprises need today. So we are enabling you to basically use the best of breed kind of technologies without any limitations. Why should I come and say, here is a curated framework for you? Why can't it democratize the utilization of Kubernetes platforms and enable that with all the other things that is needed for a smooth transition, smooth running of your applications? That's what I do with my containers and how I deliver that. That's the Ezmeral container platform, the heart of the overall platform. Then, underneath that, you see HP OneView and HPE InfoSight. These are essentially coming in from the hardware stack on which you can run the Ezmeral platform, right? And that hardware stack is today enabled in such a way that you're able to kind of look at the resources that is there, whether it is a server platform or a compute platform. You're able to kind of use that more as a composable infrastructure, right? Or it could be the way you interact with your data center in terms of having power equipment or anything else. You can do that with OneView. And InfoSight is AI ops at play. The complexities of infrastructure will grow. You're going to have more compute resources. You're going to have more storage resources. And if I bring in AI there, I can ensure that the operational part of all of that is done very, very easily, systematically, intelligently, to an extent where it turns almost close to autonomous there. It logs calls for you in case of a hardware failure. It tells you, this VM farm is running pretty hot. Why don't you kind of move that data platforms across? So it's completely intelligent. And as a platform, I said, it delivers a lot more than containerization, but the ability to do several other things. You look at the Ezmeral data fabric that is there. This is the data fabric that we are creating for you to bring in any kind of data together and then use them in your container world. So if it is an application that is stateful, you need persistent storage. And today, persistent storage is delivered by multiple container platforms, but how easy or how difficult it is, right? We all know it's slightly on the difficult side. We make that completely easy. We make that integrated with the container platform, and that's where HPE Ezmeral Data Fabric comes into play. It not only does that, it gives you a flavor of all available data points to be collated together and building a fabric. And your data points could be on the edge, could be on the cloud, or be in a data center. We really don't care about it as long as we are able to connect them all together and create a data fabric. And the other aspect, which is the Ezmeral ML ops that we see here, is all about AI and ML. And I spoke about it in the context of increasing data today. If you want to run your AI ML models, if you want to ensure that you have a quicker turnaround of AI ML, then Ezmeral ML ops really comes into play. It's got a set of feature functionalities, a framework that allows you to kind of use it like a DevOps world in the AI ML space, on the data analytics space. So it ensures that your AI ML projects really take off pretty smoothly, happen very quickly, and you're able to kind of build and deliver these AI ML projects that you have. And in cost and compliance, a lot that is in play today to ensure that there is a parity on cost, whether you're depending on the deployments that you have, whether it's on the cloud or whether it is on-prem. Compliance, the various compliance norms that are there. The entire framework builds together about 1,500 compliance parameters that can all be used for a quicker deployment of a compliance perspective. So if somebody's looking at the compliance capabilities of the organization, he gets a dashboard out of it and he's able to do that. Security, you read Spire and Spiffy. They are two IPs that HP has actually contributed to the open world. And that ensures that at a container level, at a container platform level, whatever you do is completely secure. And obviously you build upwards from there. What's also crucial is that we just don't provide the software as is. We bring in a lot of services capability that can be harnessed. Suppose if you're looking at a container strategy to be deployed, if you're looking at a container POC that you need to do, or you want to scale that beyond, the Pointnext services really helps you. And the one that you see on as HPE GreenLake is our ability to bring this entire portfolio together as a service, right? When I talk about hybrid environments, what is really coming into foray is this ability to provide as a service. This is pretty much in the dynamics of what a public cloud offering is, but this is a private cloud that comes to your doorstep. So, if you're an organization who wants to look at security, who wants to comply, and wants technology that you would want to really put into, behind your applications, HPE GreenLake is the kind of offering that we do. The dynamics of that is very much like cloud today. You pay as you go. It's a consumption model, so you pay only for the consumption. All of that that you need is all packaged there. It is managed by HPE. Several other attributes, which is really gaining a lot of prominence in the marketplace, which talks about our as a service model, and which is the GreenLake here. So if you look at a little more deeper into this Ezmeral platform, you will realize why I call this a platform, because it just is not Kubernetes alone. It brings in several other aspects together, which is a big appeal in terms of the kind of people we have in the organization, be it data scientists, be it data engineers, be it app developers, or if it is a DevOps environment. This container is one single platform that can handle both cloud native and non-cloud native applications together, right? So I spoke to you about the open source, foundation that we build on for the Ezmeral platform. It is CNCF certified. It is multiple versions of the CNCF certified Kubernetes can be deployed here. Typically, in other implementations, you will see them support one or two versions. Here, you can have multiple versions of that certified. We package and complete enterprise support for the framework here. So you could buy whatever support requirements that you have. It's not that we get the open source here and you will have to kind of figure out what it is. It is completely packaged purely from a supportability perspective in terms of doing your integrations with the enterprise and handling security. All of that is part and parcel of the Ezmeral platform. So, it's not that you will have to be worrying about it, right? Some people have this cautionary thought about open source and how they're getting deployed. When it comes to the enterprise integration and security, all that you would want to know of LDAP, AD integration, load balancing capability, encryption, is part of the platform itself. So it is completely secure and easily integratable into your environment. When you're talking of multi-tenancies, there is a control plane that runs here, which gives you that self-servicing capability, as I spoke of, which helps you in resource allocation for the entire platform itself, the hardware resources and other resources that are there. It's completely multi-tenant. You could have any number of tenants really use the same platform, but they get what they are wanting to be, what they are allowed to from an overall integration and security perspective. And I talked about this aspect of persistent storage requirements for the cloud, some of the cloud applications needing this persistent storage capability. And we do the best, I think, in the industry today when you're talking of this data fabric, the Ezmeral data fabric, which essentially can speak to any kind of storage that you have. Now, the way I look at it, you could have a lot of data devices, but you have to really stitch that data together into a data fabric. That's what we can do with the Ezmeral data fabric. In case you need some other options, there is connectivities that is possible. But when you're talking of a platform like this, it's not only the engine that way, but the front end of it, right? A lot of this, CI/CD pipelines that you build in, or the data engineering projects that you run in, need a portfolio of open source, products and Docker images for all of that. And all of that is available as a store, app store within the framework there. Whether you're looking at AI, ML, or data sciences, you want a TensorFlow to be used, or you're looking at app modernization, or it could be any other application that you would want to bring in here. That helps in the app modernization process. In fact, within the framework, an IP that we actually put to the open source community called Kube Director really helps you to do that when you're able to transform a monolithic application into something that is a containerized application. So that's the software platform. And if you look to the bottom half, it essentially runs across the board, right? Whether it is edge or a multi-cloud environment, and obviously on-prem environment. And again, it is not stipulated to run on HPE hardware. It can actually run on any other hardware as well. So in that context, It is a software product. It's a religionless product. It can work on any platforms. And you're able to provide one single platform to manage your cloud native and non-cloud native applications, secure data, use data for containers and non-container environments, do your integration, do your security. So it's an all-in-all platform that we talk of when we talk the Ezmeral platform. From how HP really came to this, it's important to note that we have been working on this. We see this as a transitionary or what would I say, a transformatory area for us, because all applications want to be containerized today, and whether they are on-prem or on the cloud, right? So there is a huge battleground that is getting prepared today for people to really transform their entire businesses. So we saw that coming. We identified Kubernetes as one of the biggest ones that is being used in the space. Blue Data, it is an IP that we gotten into the HPE fold about a couple of years ago. It's a control plane that enables you to manage the entire container control plane and its requirements out of it. From a data perspective, the IP that we got was MapR. It allows you to bring all the data points together. So that is how HP, along with this, plus a lot of, I can easily remember close to about 7 or 8 more IPs that we bought together, which really brings the entire play for HP in the space. And Ezmeral is the front end of all of that we want to do in this area. Quickly, the way we would look at this and how we would want to build that is purely in terms of the key value props that we want to bring to our own customers here. Firstly, the control plane that we want to have will be an unified, completely secure, completely scalable controller plane. So, irrespective of the additions that we do, this is going to be fundamental for us when we build up the Ezmeral portfolio today. We're looking at the application stacks here and the application world. How do I modernize these applications, which has to happen anytime now? Some might not do it now, but choose to do it a little later. But how do you do that? How do you ensure that the stateful workloads are completely well handled here? We talked about the Ezmeral data fabric. That is something that is very core to the roadmap for us. And for the workload specific, we will bring in a lot of what we call as workload optimized solutions, right? Which will enable you to do that entire thing very, very quickly. It could be the templatized versions of it. It could be the best practices that we bring in together, like ML Ops that really does that from our AI ML perspective. And we want this to run across the board, edge or in any kind of application world. That is how Ezmeral container platform will really develop as we move on, and that is how it will do. Just demonstrating the container platform today, right? If you look at the container platform and it delivers the Kubernetes services that you want, it is an application platform. So we know from the tools that are there readily available from the store, you could pick any applications and then develop your own workbench. You can manage the data that is there. And all of this is done in the gambit of infrastructure services and security for you. So that's how the container aspect of the platform is really comes into play. And as I said, it is enterprise ready. So we essentially need to look at the characteristics that make this enterprise ready. So from scale perspective, you could have 1,000+ nodes that can be managed out of the Ezmeral container platform. It is enterprise. It works across various, various other enterprise applications, container applications that are there. So you can import a lot of external clusters, whether it's an EKS or an AKS cluster. You talked about the data fabric, and I said, that's going to grow. And if I were to characterize that, whether it's a file or an object or any site of data, actually, we are able to deliver that. And if we're talking of the application portfolio, we can handle, cloud native applications as much as we can do in modernization of applications, right? So that is how the Ezmeral platform really becomes, I think globally the #1 platform to kind of handle all of the resources that an enterprise would need. Moving to the data fabric, I think it is important because the world is exploding with data. What the external data fabric product that we do is basically gives you an access across various types of file folders, or an Hadoop or a Spark app or anything that is there, right? You see the access methods here. It is almost a gambit of various protocols that we all support, right? And when looking at data services, what can you do with that data services? You can handle multi-tenancies. You will have a global namespace, so you can essentially get any kind of data form into that. You can give out quotas. You can have an unified security, a very, very rich portfolio of data services. Data protection, you have that much of data, you need to protect the data as well. How do you do that? Whether it's snapshots, whether it is multi-site mirroring, all of that is covered here. And it essentially runs on any kind of hardware, whether it is disk or flash. So and the location, irrespective of the location, it again works, right? So this is a complete fabric that enables you to handle your data in a way and fashion that you're essentially getting access to the data points, and that access means that you can essentially use it in any type of worlds or environments today, right? So the data types and the kind of hardware that it can be used for is all mentioned here. Multi-cloud I spoke of, it can do that. It can scale up into multiple application nodes here. It is enterprise grade. All of that is what the data fabric really covers from a supporting perspective for infrastructure and the kind of data types that we have. So some of the real cool features that one needs to know here about the Ezmeral data fabric here, is this data persistency capabilities. This persistent data is needed for all of the applications that are needed. Enterprise class applications, they deal a lot with data, they access data, they carry a lot of data along with that. That's where the global namespace comes into play and the multi-protocol comes into play. It is one single framework for getting all the data points together. The other aspect is in terms of how do you keep your data today? What is relevant today may not be relevant tomorrow. So you kind of develop a cold, warm, hot kind of capabilities for data. Something that is hot, which is instantly needed is available to you instantly. And something that you may not need at all can really go into a cold storage capabilities, essentially giving you the kind of bandwidth that to handle the data at scale. And when you're talking of large volumes of data, it needs to be secure. So security is included, and portability. I talked about the fact that apps and data are now needed to be very, very portable. So this data is completely portable. It is residing in a data center, needs to go to the cloud. It can, vice versa is also possible. So a complete solution for your data needs, for really getting the data to create an insights in your organization is what this does. My last point is around the container platform and the use cases that I typically see today in the marketplace. One is about the AI ML capability, where we have the entire set of tools that are available in the App Store. So you build, train, and deploy this. So all of that is delivered together. There is a framework that accelerates this entire capability. Sometimes, projects that can take close to 6-7 months can be done within a few months here. So, there is an acceleration that's happening there. Great use case for us. In the developer world, when applications are being developed on the fly, there are changes that are being made on the fly, you build, ship, and run. So a CI/CD pipeline capability is part of what Ezmeral can do. App modernization, whether it is something that is a monolithic application that needs to be containerized, or it could be a virtualized environment that can be containerized, because that is another area where a lot of transition is really happening. Why should one really have a virtualized layer when you can do most of that with the container framework today? It makes it faster, it makes it economical as well. So, it's an area where we speak and do a lot of work. Hybrid cloud management, because of the way the platform works, it enables you to kind of use this platform across hybrid cloud environments, right? Whether it is on-prem or on the cloud or on multi-cloud. So managing all of this together can happen out of the Ezmeral data container platform. And that's one of the use cases that we see. So all in all, if we were to look at the key benefits that one can get out of the container platform, I think it brings in a great amount of flexibility. People were locked into silos when they did this application migration, or when they developed their container strategies. Today, we are saying here is one which can handle both monolithic and cloud native applications, could be done on any kind of infrastructure. I just need this kind of platform. So one single platform, enterprise-wide, with great flexibility. improved productivity, because in the way you manage this, this many containers, this kind of an hybrid environment today, we can do all of that with the kind of resourcing that the platform provides for management, for deployment of the clusters, for day one, day two kind of operations of that. All ensures that there's improved productivity, reduced risk because of the kind of security that's integrated onto this, supports multi-tenancy, so you're essentially not having silos of your platforms available, and obviously the persistent data capability, which is one single source of truth for the organization. So ensures that your risks are almost mitigated, I would say. Yes, implementing a platform there like this will give you better TCO. Predominantly, you're knocking off a lot of virtualization requirements that are there. You could run all of this containers on bare metal, so you're reducing cost around it. And I think overall it increases the efficiencies also, because there are lesser number of components in an overall software stack. That ensures your efficiency goes up. So that's the Ezmeral container platform for you. And just have a look at it. We are going to follow this particular session, which was, I think, would have given you a clear understanding of what clusters mean to digital transformation today, what hybrid world means to digital transformation today. So we're going to demonstrate all of that today, purely more from an understanding of cluster as a technology, as you hear into the demo session here. Thank you very much for patient hearing. I hope I could generate the interest in you about learning more about containers, understanding how Ezmeral is very, very different from the other containers in the marketplace. And when you see the demo, I think you'll get more clarity around it. Thank you very much, and happy demoing.
Thanks, Ranga. My name is Saurabh Godbole. I head enterprise business for Unique Solutions. I'm going to give you a technology showcase on new age computing platform. Now let us start by giving a quick introduction about Unique Solutions. We are a 2-decade-old company with strong experience in providing performance-oriented and cost-optimized solutions. We are a platinum business partner for HPE with focus on mission-critical infrastructure solutions. As a partner, we have a very comprehensive set of skill sets, starting with end-to-end solution sizing, capacity planning, solution deployment, and solution designing. We are able to independently architect solutions based on HPE technologies and are able to give unparalleled experience to our customers through service-oriented value additions. As an organization, we have made serious strategic investments into SAP HANA, container platform, and hybrid IT solutions. As a result of all of these skill sets, we have 80+ customers for our mission-critical workloads. Last but a very important piece of any IT infrastructure solution is a network and security. We have a very strong and robust portfolio comprising of Aruba, Palo Alto, Citrix, Fortinet, and Sophos in our network and security set. These are certain of our key customers whom we have regularly doing business with. Now, let us go to the technology showcase where my colleague Shashikant is going to share his screen and take us through the demo. We have created this demo of container platform on HPE infrastructure in our demo labs. Today, we are going to show you or give you a feel of container technology and what it is capable of. Now I will start by showing you how to spin up a container. If you can see, the present service which I'm showing is not running. Now my colleague is going to boot up a container or spin up a container and bring it up. So we will see this container coming up and then we will see the service also coming up. Now we can see the container is up and running, and now let us check if the service is also running. There you go. So as and when the container has come up, the service is also up and running. Now I will ask my colleague to spin up the number of containers to 100. You can see how seamless this process is and how effective it is. It is very easy to scale up from 1 to 100 or even multiples of 100, and the services will come up. Parallelly, while doing this, your background service is always up and running. So this is the scale up feature of container platform. Now we will scale down this service from 100 to 10 containers. As you see, the containers are getting removed, balance container, the service is unimpacted. So Shashikan, can we go to the service and check if the service is running? Here you see, as the containers are getting removed in the background, still my service is up and running. And now we have just 10 containers running across all 5 nodes. The setup, what we have created here, there are 3 master nodes and 3 worker nodes. This presently is on a Docker platform, but this is just to give you a feel of it. You can have multiple container platforms deployed and designed. Now we are going to reboot the worker node 3 and show you that the self-healing feature of containers allows the containers to immediately move the workload, container platform to immediately move the workload to other running nodes. Yes, now the worker node 3 is down and the containers have already migrated to the other nodes and the service is still up and running. So this is basically, we wanted to show you the feature, the basic feature of containerization platform, where you can seamlessly scale up from 1 container to hundreds of containers and roll back as well as the auto healing feature. Now we are going to show you a demo of a solution which can manage multiple Kubernetes clusters across hybrid IT environments, like your on-premise, private cloud, public cloud, as well as at the edge. These clusters are seamlessly monitored, managed, and operated through the same platform. We can even perform seamless migrations for the workloads across this Kubernetes cluster. We will start by creating a Kubernetes cluster on an AWS workload on a public cloud. We are giving cluster a name, that particular cluster, giving it a prefix, defining the number of nodes, choosing a template for it, and setting certain parameters. As we click create, it will start spinning up containers on the AWS platform. And we can see here, they are provisioning. As we speak, what all activities are happening in the background is provisioning of the required operating system, deployment of the security groups, deployment of packages required for Kubernetes, and then finally creating that particular Kubernetes cluster. Similarly, I'm going to use the same platform to create Kubernetes clusters on my on-premise workload. So while these clusters are coming up, we'll check how seamless and such a same experience it is to create it on on-premise using this platform as well. So we have a VMware setup ready. We will create Kubernetes clusters on that VMware setup now, on-premise. Again, the procedure is absolutely same. We give it a cluster name, a prefix, number of nodes, and then we say create. When I go to the VMware setup and check, we can see that these nodes are getting created. The cluster is getting created. Again, very similar activities are happening in background. OS provisioning, security groups, packages required for Kubernetes are getting deployed, and these Kubernetes clusters are getting created. As we have seen, using the same platform, it is very simple and seamless to create these clusters irrespective of your platform that you're using, whether it is a public cloud or it is a private cloud. Here you can see on the public cloud, all the Kubernetes clusters have been created, the containers have been created, and the services are up and running. Similarly, we will also check on the on-premise setup. These nodes have been created, and the deployment is still in process in the background. So this is a stateless infrastructure. Now I will show you a demo of a stateful infrastructure or a stateful container provisioning. This is my Kubernetes cluster. Now we have installed a MySQL database here. My colleague is going to make a database entry into the database, log in into the database, make a database entry. There are multiple entries already done. He will make an additional entry here. We are particularly inserting a timestamp so that it is easier for us to recognize when we do our further activities. Here we can see the database entry with the timestamp. Now we are going to delete this container. You can see the container name by its last 4 or last 5 digits. It is a unique code, N8SZQ. As it deletes the container, that becomes unavailable, and immediately the service is up and running in the other container. This is called the self-healing feature of a container platform. There is a different unique ID, and when I see in my login to my database and check my service, I have not lost any of the data. That particular transaction is there, which we had done a minute ago, and it is still there. Even though I deleted that particular container, when my new container was formed, it fetched all the data. And this is what the critical and key feature of self-healing in a container platform. This is what I wanted to show you. Basically, I did 2 demos here. One was with a stateless application and one with a stateful container. Using this Kubernetes platform, we can not only manage the workloads across the platforms, we can also migrate them. This entire solution can be consumed on using this solution. We can manage the Kubernetes cluster across multiple environments. Not only that, we can also migrate these containers across the platforms depending upon your workload. For example, a workload requiring higher security, higher compliances, and higher data control can be hosted on your on-premise or a private cloud infrastructure with HPE GreenLake Cloud. If any one of you would like to have a demo or do a demo for your set of applications, we would be more than happy to host them in our labs and help them conduct a demo. I thank you very much for your patience and time and listening to our demo. Thank you.